Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another NPCs weekly news roundup. It is June 5th, 2020. My name is Travis, and of course, I'm joined via Discord with Kyle. Kyle, good evening, sir.
How's it going?
There we go. All right, guys. Lots of news this week. Actually, kind of some very sensitive topic based news. Of course, then kind of digging into everything else that's gaming. So, talking about some changes at Infinity Ward. Sony kind of disappointing, but I guess it makes sense, of course, with PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5, excuse me, announcements. Yeah, hey, let's get a PlayStation 4 announcement in there. Sega surprising some people to a point, and of course, a little bit of talk about Epic Games and that Unreal Engine demo that we saw on the PlayStation 5. So, let's go ahead and roll that intro, and we're going to hop into the news. All right, so we have our first story here from Games Radar. And again, like we said, we're starting off with some PlayStation 5 news here. New date for PlayStation 5 Future of Gaming event coming soon, promises Sony. PlayStation says it'll be in touch. So on June 4th, we were supposed to actually have a full-on show-off. So that would have been yesterday. We were supposed to have a show-off of PlayStation 5 games, really in real time. It was supposed to be a big counter to Microsoft's Inside 2020 thing that they did several weeks ago. This was supposed to be kind of Sony kick to them, kick in the teeth, but we didn't get it. So PlayStation has confirmed their intentions to reveal a new date for the PlayStation 5 Future of Gaming event soon after the digital showcase was postponed in response to the Black Lives Matter protests taking place across the globe. The update, spotted by Push Square, can be found in the description under the original trailer for the PlayStation 5 event on PlayStation's YouTube channel, which now reads as follows. This event has been postponed. We'll be in touch with a new date soon. Soon, of course, can apply anything from a matter of days to a matter of weeks, but given that Sony's next-gen console is set to release within the next 6 months, I'd imagine that PlayStation is as eager to reveal its slate of upcoming PlayStation 5 games as we are ready to hear about them. So, yes, Black Lives Matter. There is a big protest and big movement going on through the United States and actually globally. We got protests out of the UK. We've got protests that we've seen in Germany. Of course, there's a lot of groups that are utilizing a lot of the motion and energy coming up from the protests here in the United States to push a lot of things, even on their side, not necessarily just injustices from the police, but also from other facets of life that are over in their countries. So with that part of it said, Sony decided to postpone this event in respect of that, to not show off anything and kind of let what needs to happen out within the protest. Kyle, this was kind of expected, really. I mean, you can't imagine that. You can't really imagine that Sony's going to try to play on a lot of this stuff by, going off and showing a lot of these things and hope, and kind of be seen as a distraction to this when it necessarily, I guess, shouldn't be. I mean, I don't know exactly what camp you're in, Kyle. We don't have to go all political here, but I'm just, saying this kind of makes sense for Sony to do this, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, especially with it being such a touchy subject and whatnot, for them to just come out of the gate, even though it was a planned, event, for them to come out of the gate and say, "Hey, look, we got all these games and stuff," even though that your guys' stuff is going on, that'd be pretty shitty.
Yeah,
Um,
it really would.
I think, I think this was kind of, something that had to happen. Um, Especially, even from a corporate standpoint, it'd be suicide to host an event when there's this big social thing going on. So
Yeah, I think part of it is for them is that they're not trying to really put their heads out there and try to make it look like they're, I guess, capitalizing on it. Or no, not
right,
capitalizing. I think that's the wrong choice of words. I think it's more of trying to be a distraction for it when there's this protest and this movement for meaningful change in our society. They don't want to be seen as a company that's coming in and trying to just become a distraction. So I'm guessing these protests are going
well,
to be going on.
that's a form of trying to capitalize on it still.
I,
So
it's a double-edged sword, really, if we want to
yeah,
say that. I guess the question though is, like, even the article brought up here, is that it's what is soon. I mean, these protests are going to go on. I mean, if we go back through history, protests like this can go on for weeks, even over a month. Do we expect to
yeah, but
see this maybe next week?
Sony also dropped this last event on us, like just what with a week and a half for before it was supposed
Hmm.
to occur. They were just like, oh hey, we're doing a thing. There
Right,
have been rumors, we're doing it.
right, and I'm
But
wondering
even
if,
then, the rumors had only been floating around for what, 3 weeks?
yeah,
So
there's been talk about that because we brought it up in a previous broadcast, and I guess Sony like went even as far as, like, because they're trying to push it. Some people were showing videos on, like, even after the announcement that they weren't going to be doing this earlier this week. There was actually commercials that people were seeing for this event to happen yesterday, like on not ads built into YouTube videos or anything. I'm talking like full on commercials. Like someone was watching ESPN and saw something about this, like actually saw
right,
this same screen here. There's a little animation on the a little animation that actually had the controller kind of like being tilted forward, so you saw like the ridges of the buttons, and then you could actually see the blue glow of the controller here along the outside of the touchpad. And it said, future gaming, tune in June 4th to find out more. So Sony really had to make a big decision here, I guess, again going back to the double-edged sword, that they had already spent money on advertising, not just digitally but also in a standard television format. So I wonder, like, they probably have lost a bunch of money for not doing this. You have to imagine they've lost something.
yeah, but I think they by postponing it, they also protected future profits.
That's also very true because, uh, you know, uh, with the way a lot of the movements go on, and the way they that the general public and really the consumer is going to see this, is they're going to see, it's like, okay, what did you do during this time period? Like, what was your stance when things happened? And of course, I'm sure you've seen it. I know I've seen it, of course, because I'm not really on Facebook as much as I used to be. I'm more on Twitter now. And I of course was seeing almost like every company, gaming wise, was of course doing like the blackout Tuesday when they changed their profile picture to just like the black square, and that was it.
Right.
I think Sony did the same thing. I think Microsoft did the same thing. I can't remember if Nintendo of America did. I know we saw like Bethesda do it, and so on, of course, though, too. So there is some participation in this, to show solidarity and support. So, of course, they took it to a point, but you're absolutely right. The consumer is going to look at this, of course, later on. I mean, look what happened with BlizzCon back last year with all of the Hong Kong stuff. I mean, there's definitely some backlash that still exists to this day because of that, and it still gets brought up from time to time.
Oh
Um,
yeah, and it
you
was
know,
a hot subject even for us to touch on for a little while. So
yeah, I mean, because it was almost a near ongoing, like we were talking about, I think almost every week up there at that point when we were doing the previous version of the news. So,
right,
yeah, it's going to depend, of course, on what Sony says here. Like putting out a date, how they're going to be bringing everybody in, and what they're actually going to do. So, we're going to keep an eye out on that date. And of course, when we actually have the announcement, finally, of course, when they show off whatever games they're going to show off, if they finally show off the PlayStation 5. Sorry, a little dried out here. It's a little dry in the house tonight, but yeah, we'll have all that information available for you guys, and we'll talk about that. So let's move on here into our next story, and this one, of course, ties back into what's going on right now with the Black Lives Matter movement here in the United States and, of course, across the world. This comes to us also from Games Radar. Infinity Ward's cracking down on Modern Warfare and Warzone's racist username problem. Infinity Ward, the developer of Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Call of Duty Warzone, is pledging to fight harder against racism in their online communities. The use of racial slurs has been disgustingly common in online multiplayer games for as long as voice chat has been around, but Modern Warfare has another problem on top of that: in-game name customization. Modern Warfare uses the Activision ID system for online multiplayer, which lets players change their in-game display name to whatever they want. Some abuse this system to spew hate where everybody else in their game will have to look at it, even if you mute their mic. In a new Twitter message spurred by the Black Lives Matter protest, Infinity Ward pledged to put more systems in place and expend more resources into fighting this issue. So the changes go on from their list to state here's their exact message on this one. There is no place for racist content in our game. This is an effort we began with launch, and we need to do a better job. We're issuing thousands of daily bans of racist and hate-oriented names, but we know we have to do more, and we are adding additional resources to monitor and ID racist content, adding additional in-game reporting systems to increase the number of bans by hour, adding filters and greater restrictions on name changes, evaluating in-game improvements to make it easier to report offenses, and increasing permanent bans to root out repeat offenders. We apologize to our players. This is our commitment to you, our fans. Thank you. Why did it take them until this event to go through and do that now? Like, why did it literally take till now to get this fixed?
Yeah, that's kind of sad.
Well, someone, like, when it was first brought up, like, I think it was when this dropped. I'm not going to bring any of that stuff up here because folks, whoever's watching right now, you can go find it. There are someone actually went through and screenshot, like, because you can search up usernames. Someone searched up the N-word, and because of like the different capitalization in that too that you can use to actually spell out any word whatsoever, they actually just typed out the word itself and were able to scroll through a list. It had to be like at least 100. It had to be at least 100 names that they were able just to find.
Now, I want to say this, and I'm not rooting for Infinity Ward on this. Microsoft has had a system in place for how long with the Xbox Live usernames that you have to remain at least somewhat PC with your username in order to even create an account. So why hasn't this been around since the beginning of Call of Duty? I mean, it's obvious that it's easy to write an algorithm to root out names that are going to be malicious, so on and so forth. So why now, and why not from the beginning?
Yeah, so this of course came up on June 3rd. Exactly. It's like they posted that on June 3rd and started to put out the resources. You're absolutely right. Microsoft has had it. Sony's had it. Nintendo's had it. The fact that Infinity Ward and Treyarch and who's the other one that does stuff? Sledgehammer Games. Are they also one that does Call of Duty as well? Like, because I know that it rotates between a couple different companies, like, you know, depending on the version of not Modern Warfare, but Call of Duty.
I believe it's Sledgehammer.
Yeah, it's like these guys have been making these games for so long, but the fact that they go out of their way to offer a secondary naming system, a secondary way of being able to change your username, so that way on the console, or if you're playing on PC, you know, wherever you're playing at, you can have an innocuous, no problem name. But in these games, the fact that they haven't been moderating it, and it took until an actual event, we'll call it a tragedy, that they had to go in and finally recognize, like, I'm a database administrator. Okay, that's my regular job. Okay, outside of doing the podcast and that is my regular job. There are mechanisms in place that you can put out there to scrub through it. So if someone, like, literally when someone submits it, there should be a check right off the bat. But then there's going to be easy enough check that they can go through their databases and scrub that stuff out that much faster. Why was that not there? And I think Infinity Ward owes it to everybody to actually step up and say, this is why we didn't have it.
I wonder if this is more so a problem because of the cross-play with consoles now. Because you think about it, especially with online games, in the past, you haven't had to have a specific name that you could pick once, and that was going to be it forever unless you paid money to switch it. So people would switch their name anytime a new hot issue came up in the news, you know. So this has been going on for, you know, ages and ages for PC gamers, and now that we have console gamers that are tied into that, and you know that they've had those systems implemented. I wonder if that was maybe a hang up. but it doesn't seem like it should be,
No,
because it
this
seemed
is
like they should have been monitoring that in the first place
y-
anyway, because
yeah.
they've been part of online gaming for so long.
What this really comes down to, so the screen I brought up here, Kyle, I know you can't see it, of course, from your part, but I've got the actual Twitter feed up from when they announced this, and of course all the replies to that actual tweet from Infinity Ward. But you're absolutely right, is that someone actually didn't have the foresight to think, what can we do about offensive names? Because I want you to actually think about this though too, is that Call of Duty is not marketed generally to kids, but kids are going to play this stuff no matter what anyway. And
Yeah.
you
And I
really,
think generally the market knows,
mm-hmm,
yeah, they are marketing it to kids now. I mean,
right,
let's get real. They know a big part of their audience is children, even though that,
right.
rating on there says M. There's going to be probably at least 50% of their
Well,
audience is going to be kids.
yeah. So I think a big thing also to consider in this, and I'll go through some of the actual replies to the tweet here in a second. Is that think about what we're at right now, like where we're at in the generations of kids, like the kids who actually started and really capitalized on playing Fortnite as their go-to game are now working their way up to like their way up the ladder of battle royale games to Apex Legends to PUBG. And of course, Warzone's going to be one of those other ones, granted with a lot of the other games that are coming out now to like Valorant, of course, is very popular. Crucible just came out from Amazon as well, too. And that one's a free game you can get. The fact is this, though, is that the generation that grew up playing Fortnite is now working their way up to more of these things too, and it's more things for them to be exposed to. I'm not saying kids are ignorant, okay? Some of them are, of course, but that's just kind of how kids work anyway with the way they develop. But the fact is, though, is that they're working their way up to this, so it's not going to necessarily be a shock that a kid who played Fortnite at age 10 is going to be done playing Fortnite at age 13 and is going to jump in and play something like this and have to deal with a lot of that chaos. With a lot of the name stuff. And the problem is, too, is that because kids are easily manipulated anyway, you will run into that issue where, and Kyle, you can attest to this, and anybody watching can attest to this, how much hate speak can come from kids when they're playing games. They don't say it like when they're actually out, on the playground. They're out hanging out with their friends. They're anywhere out and about. But as soon as you get them behind a controller and a microphone, they can become some of the most heated players out there. Like they're so aggressive.
Preteens and teens can
Yeah.
be some of the most toxic players on
Yeah.
any online community.
And and where I'm going with this is the fact that you don't have I'm making this very clear. The fact that Infinity Ward did not have the moderation like these other ones did, where they tied your actual username for whatever service you're using and use that one for one with what was actually in the game itself. The fact that they're not moderating this sets a dangerous precedent that says this was allowed. Like this is something that they could do. And kids will latch onto that, and kids will unfortunately be the ones to kind of grow up as the next generation, that thinks, okay, this was acceptable, at least at that point in time. There are a lot of them that will repent. There are a lot of them that realize it's like, man, I was a fucking idiot. But what I'm really saying about this one is that it's like you're leaving them with that opportunity. I mean, I saw someone, what was it? I was watching Dr. Disrespect at lunchtime. And as I was watching Dr. Disrespect, one of the people he was chasing around, just, for fun's sake, of course, though, too, happened to be named Donnie Trump. That's probably not his actual online handle, but of course that's the name he has in game. But imagine though, of course, though, too, is that in the age of swatting and everything else, that if kids happen to, see something like that, and let's say they make a comment, they're on social media, they're on Twitter, some of them are still going on to Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and that. And imagine when one of them says, hey, I just I don't know what's going to happen here. I don't know if the CIA is going to break in, but I'm using this example as what if one of them said, it's like, I killed Donald Trump, or it's like, hey, I'm going to go do this to Donald Trump. I don't care where you sit politically on that, though. It is still a federal offense to go and threaten the president of the United States. And a lot of it, of course, ties into the fact that kids are ignorant. Kids are thinking, hey, this is cool, this is funny, and they build up on it.
Yeah, and I could see where they would be coming from. being that the internet is supposed to be a free place, so you really can't. You're not supposed to be able to silence people on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's something that's an owned licensed thing like Call of Duty, you know, they can put boundaries on things and say, this is where you're crossing the line, guys.
Mm-hmm.
You, you know,
Yeah, so like I'm not going to bring this up here because I don't need our channel to be like I don't need a channel strike on anything on either Facebook or on YouTube here right now. But as I'm going through, someone actually in here has a screenshot. So Kyle, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to grab the link here and actually just send it to you so you can actually see which one I'm talking about specifically. But someone here actually has a picture, and that's in game. I mean, you could make stuff up with Photoshop and other tools to manipulate everything here. But I mean, there's a blatant, like I said, an example of just one of them in one game. You had three of them.
and it's just inappropriate.
Because it doesn't just go down specifically to race. You're talking about religion as well, though, too, of course, is that in this one, I'll make mention of it at least, though, is that, Jew is mentioned as the clan tag in this one. And alone, you combine that together, maybe there's a little bit of a connotation behind that, too. Regardless, I'm going to hop off of this train here so we can move on through the rest of our news. But to sum this up here, especially as a parent with kids, and as a parent of a child who is currently in that generation that is now just starting to play games online, especially in a pseudo competitive sense, there needs to be not only the moderation from the parents to make sure that as parents, we're stepping in and we're keeping an eye on what they're doing. And that they're playing fair, they're being respectful. If they're calling somebody out on their team, of course, it's for something legitimate. You're only going to catch so much anyway, though, too. I try to teach my sons how to actually play these games properly and not demean or belittle anybody as they're playing games, but obviously, of course, provide constructive feedback to their cohorts as they're playing. But along with the parents, these companies have a responsibility to at least moderate how they're allowing these types of things to be set up, allowing usernames to be set up this way, allowing the clan tags to be set up this way, and then ultimately, of course, moderating audio chat and text chat as well. That is something they can easily implement, and I'm very disappointed in Infinity Ward. Like, I'm actually very grateful that Warzone is free because I will fully admit right now, like, it's one of my favorite games right now because I'm actually starting to get really good at it. But if I was a parent right now going to buy a game for my kid, I don't know what I would do with the Infinity Ward stuff until I actually saw these tools implemented. Like the fact that it's like, as an adult, I know what to look out for, but for my kids, I'm not going to let them touch a Call of Duty for a while until I actually see this stuff in place.
Right.
Yeah. So that's I'm off of it now, Kyle. I got that out of my system because, of course, reading this story here kind of pissed me off. But we have a comment from Alex on Facebook here, and he says, it's a step in the right direction, but I hope they take the time to address each case individually as needed. I subscribe to a channel on YouTube that wound up demonetized for the longest time, and the proprietor couldn't find out why. He finally found it out. It was the channel name. So it looks like it was due to his surname because YouTube left everything up to their algorithms. He got scratched and they weren't even decent enough to tell him why. So the YouTube channel, it was actually off of his name. So his name was Rob Dyke, Dyke. And of course, Dyke has the connotations, of course, towards, as a derogatory term towards lesbians. That makes perfect sense, of course, is that the algorithms are there to protect, but I mean, it's just like any AI. I mean, you look at Asimov's laws of robotics, of course, is that they're going to follow those rules to the letter. And even if that robot is getting the crap kicked out of it, it can't beat the crap out of the human back. So they're only going to be able to go so far. And algorithms are only going to be able to do so much. It's still going to require human intervention no matter what.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I'm done, Kyle. I'm done. I'm done, I promise. Okay. All right, let's move on to our next story here. Good, cool. I'm actually okay to see a company, I guess, to a point get a little screwed on some stuff here. But let's see what they're talking about. This one's from IGN. Sony fined $3.5 million for misleading Australian consumers. Sony Europe, which controls Sony operations in Australia, has been fined 3.5 million Australian dollars for misleading Australian consumers over its refund policy. The company has been ordered to pay this amount in penalties for making false and misleading representations regarding Australian consumer law rights. The court case that led to the settlement involved a series of consumers who contacted Sony over a game they deemed faulty. They were refused refunds for two reasons. The game was purchased digitally and it had been 14 days since they made the purchase. These responses from Sony do not align with Australian consumer law, so the case went to court. Another breach of ACL came as Sony told a consumer that it could not provide a refund unless the game developer authorized it, and told another that the refund would have to be issued using digital currency only usable on the PlayStation Store. Sony goofed. That's simple. I mean, was this a simple one you were talking about, Kyle?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I mean, yeah. This is a very simple one, and it's funny to say, especially in that fact, because, like, I think like in the video game world, Australian law is pretty well known, especially consumer practices, because for a lot of us, take a look at like what Valve has had to go through with Steam. I would say for a lot of us, we've probably seen. We've probably seen actually quite a bit of things out of all that. Just because of a lot of the consumers there in Australia, of course, being protected by this law, and Valve having to change around their rules, which I think didn't that lead into some of the costs though too of software? Like I think it's more expensive to actually buy video games in Australia, mostly because of the law.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Not necessarily that the law makes it more expensive, but I think it's more of the legality of things though too, that it's like, okay, if your law is going to mess with us, we're going to charge you like an extra $5 because it's like, that's money we got to keep on retainer in case, we screw up or something. That's, I guess I'm not a lawyer. Again, I'm a database administrator. Okay. I make SQL queries go brrr. Okay. So yeah, you were absolutely right on that. That was a pretty simple one. Yay, Sony.
Yeah.
Kyle, I'm going to let you talk about our next one here, which also comes to us from IGN. This one is The Last of Us Part 2 trailer accused of copying artist without permission. Go on, dude. Talk to us about this.
Yeah, a music artist has accused Naughty Dog of copying her cover of New Order's True Faith, which featured a trailer for Last of Us Part 2. Let's see. Kind of quotes I want to say it was a message to him at Neil Druckmann and at Naughty Dog. Hey, are you aware of the True Faith cover you put in the Last of Us 2 trailer is a replica of my cover that came out 10 years ago? I wrote original parts not in the original song that are copied exactly by whoever covered it. I am heartbroken. Lot Kressner, a singer-songwriter, posted to Twitter a message for Naughty Dog and its vice president Neil Druckmann, pointing out that the cover of True Faith used in the trailer is the original replica of the song cover, which she released in 2011 on her album Stolen. I wrote original parts not in the original song that are copied exactly by whoever covered it, she said. I am heartbroken. To compare, it's worth listening to Kressner's cover, the trailer, and the original New Order song. 3 minutes and 30 seconds into Kressner's version, there are humming vocals that fit with slower acoustic stylings of the cover. A similar vocal segment is Snug by Ellie in the trailer at the 45-second mark. Importantly, the original New Order track, a piece of synth music, does not feature these humming-like vocals. It's the difference that has led Kressner to believe that the trailer has copied her version of the song. So, that sounds pretty spot on. I mean,
I don't know what else to say. I mean,
yeah,
it's not the first time we've heard of that.
They do go on to say, the legal status of this is murky. While currently unconfirmed, it is likely that copyright permission to the trailer was sought from New Order rather than Lot Kressner. So despite the song not being Kressner's original work, does she have any legal grounds over her arrangement? A similar case found back in 2013 with Jonathan Colton. Yes, the guy who wrote Portal Still Alive found his folky cover of Sir Mix-a-Lot's Baby Got Back um, had been covered identically by the Fox TV show Glee. Take a listen to his cover of Glee's version. So
That's funny.
it is a real murky area because, I mean, especially when you go get into art like that, and with one person performing, and it gets into the stylings of
Hmm.
um it seems that because of the compulsory license I purchased when I made the cover of the song, the arrangement itself is protected under copyright, although its darkest gray of the gray areas. While may some be weird offshoot of the law, it doesn't seem like uh, or it doesn't seem like something where a little guy could sue to get any satisfaction, he explained. It appears that Locke Kressner may be stuck fighting in a very unclear copyright law. So far, Naughty Dog has yet to respond publicly. IGN has reacted out of Sony or reached out to Sony for comment, but nothing yet. So, like I said, once again, it comes down to that real murky area of the stylings of when another person sings it, and who owns the actual license of the music. But
Well,
kind
so
of an
it's
interesting article.
so I do call that interesting, of course, on the sense that, like, as an example, of course, is let's say like Ninja Sex Party. Okay, I'm going to use them as an example because I just listened to them in the car today. They've been releasing, of course, covers of 80s music under their, with the band Twerp, TWRP, and their arrangements of songs, of course, to a point are going to be similar to the originals, but they have their flair. They have the Ninja Sex Party flair to all of them, though, too. And they monetize that. I mean, like, it's not just free music that's out there with a cover. The fact is that it's like you're buying albums, you're buying individual songs. So I think there is precedent for the copyright part of it. And I think she probably does have some legal standing, but I guess it's going to depend on if, like, can she actually raise the money to do it? It is possible that it could have just been a simple mistake that, they thought it was, the ownership of the original song creator, but then turns out, nope, you guys goofed. Like, your actual musical director went and ripped this off from this other girl here. You now have a choice. You either fix this and pay a little bit of damages, or you don't fix it, you pay a lot of damages.
Right.
Yeah. Way to go. Jeez, Sony, let's see. Sony cancels their event. They are being fined a boatload of money in Australia. And then now one of their in-house studios is potentially being sued too. Is Sony going to have any money? Like, are we actually going to be seeing the PlayStation 5 going for like $1,000, to
Sure
pay all
we
these legal
will.
fees?
In all honesty, this is one that I could see it going into litigation hell for so long that it would just cost so much money that they'll just drop it. Because, like I said, it does come down to the stylings of, because they contacted the original artist that owned it, and while the person that may have rearranged it put original lyrics into it, they probably had some, contact, I assume, with the original artist to be able to use the song in the first place too. So it wasn't that they, could go say, "Oh, you used my song. You used a version of the song,"
Right.
but it wasn't. Yeah, it's really murky, and
I agree.
it's not the first time we've heard of this, and it'll just go into litigation hell. Honestly, if they decide to pursue it,
More
maybe
likely
something
than
will
not.
come of it with people actually getting money now, like with the Joy-Con thing, and
Mm-hmm.
staying in litigation, and I mean, years and years ago, we had people awarded money from Sony for other shit. So
The hacks and so
we'll
on.
we'll
Yeah.
see. Yeah, we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
So
No, we will. We absolutely will. I
the
guess we'll just
next
see what's going
story,
on.
however, I am super excited about.
I find this funny
'Cause
because we've talked about this game several different times now in podcast, and I think it even got brought up in a news article at one point, though, too. But
It's almost like someone's listening to us.
yeah, PJ, thank you for tuning in. Hello to you as well. He showed up here in chat on Facebook, so just making sure I said hello. All right. Yeah, let's go into this one. And yeah, of course, this game is going to be very interesting to see. This one comes to us from Polygon. Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning Remaster leaks online. Studio says, oopsie daisy. Leak includes a launch date of August 18th. A remastered version of the first and only role-playing game by 38 Studios, Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, is coming to consoles and PC this summer. A listing for the remaster, dubbed Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning, appeared Wednesday on the Microsoft Store. The leak was later confirmed on Twitter in a post that added all of the game's downloadable content was being remastered as well. The product page said the remaster will offer improved visuals and refined gameplay. It initially offered a release date of August 11th, but now it has been adjusted to August 18th. We've included multiple screenshots for the page below. Frankfurt, Germany's based Kaiko is listed as the developer of the remaster. The studio previously worked with THQ Nordic on Darksiders War Mastered Edition and Darksiders 2 Definitive Edition. So it looks like, yep, they confirmed that it is accurate, that it is coming out, said Florian Emmerich, head of public relations for THQ Nordic. The news was not supposed to go out yet, which can be summarized as oopsie daisy on our end. We hope people are still looking forward to playing Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning in summer. So,
I imagine all of us will probably pick it up. I don't know about you, but I know I'll pick it up.
didn't play it when it originally came out. It wasn't something that I like when it came out. I think was about the time. Yeah, this came out in 2012. The actual original one did, and when it came out, I was right in the midst of a lot of my transition from console gaming to PC gaming. So
fair enough.
Yeah. So
yeah, and this game is so crazy too because of just the history of its making. I mean, I don't know if it almost bankrupted a whole state.
No, it did. Yeah, so it actually says it here at the bottom of the article. It says, however, the game's momentum at launch was snuffed out by controversy surrounding its developer. 38 Studios was founded by Curt Schilling, former pitcher of the Boston Red Sox and other MLB teams, in 2006. It originally set up shop in Massachusetts, but the company was ultimately lured to Rhode Island by a hefty financial incentive from that state. Shortly after Amalur launched, the developer filed for bankruptcy, leading to an investigation that went on for years. Like, actually to the point that this not only bankrupted the company, but Curt Schilling actually ended up like spending his entire life fortune, like all of his money, to try to keep things afloat. Like, I don't even know what he's doing now.
It's also super crazy too because going back to that, they had some big names involved. Like I want to say they had an author, R.A. Salvatore. He had written like a whole rich, world, and he had created all the different races and so on and so forth. There was supposed to be a novel involved. It's just kind of crazy that.
Well, so it even says here, yeah, it says R.A. Salvatore, Spawn creator Todd McFarlane, and the Elder Scrolls for Oblivion lead designer Ken Ralston among the creative team.
Yeah.
So it's like they had an A+ like list of people working on this game, but the thing is though is that it's like it happens. I mean, it's not like you could really do too much with it. But hey, wait, hold on a minute. Hold on, I gotta look at this really quick. That actually. Wait a minute. Okay, so besides the leak on here, I'm going to flip this over to this part. Amazon has a collector's edition of the remaster listed for $110.
They do. It's just insane that they've got a
comes with an Alan Shearer statue, an Amalur keychain, the popular original soundtrack, and 5 Amalur artwork in addition to the game. Like, it doesn't actually have a. Oh, there it is. Okay. Huh. I mean, like, the soundtrack is kind of like whatever, I'm cool with like little artwork bits though too, to have, but the statue's all right.
Yeah, the statue's kind of cool. Yeah, 8.2 inches tall.
Oh, it's not bad.
So, yeah, that's not bad at all. I mean, it's not like, a foot tall or anything, but
no, it's just as tall as Preston. It's perfect.
We're gonna get so much shit for that.
If he's tuned in, I sure as hell hope so. I cannot wait for those messages to drop. But I mean, that's not bad for an actual like statue as well too. But $110 seems almost a little steep. I mean, what's the like? I'm curious though to see if they actually show the base. Like, I want to find the base game here on it, just the Re-Reckoning base game. I don't know if it said it in the article. If it was going to be a full $60 re-release. Let me see here. Oh yeah, okay. So, wow, really? Okay, article does say it says all the listings give the same August 18th release date with prices set at $40 for the standard and $110 for the special. What?
So that might be a little pricey for an
100
figure, but
if the game was $60, like a regular full-fledged release, and then the collector's edition was $109, okay, I see a little bit more balance. But if you're talking the base game is $40 and the special edition's $110, and the only difference you get is a bit of artwork, the statue, depending of course on what it's made of, and the little art cards. What the fuck? I mean, really, like, what's the? That's almost like highway robbery, Kyle.
yeah,
Whatever.
I don't get it.
If I get it,
I'll
I'm
pick
getting
up the regular standard edition, but I
Yeah.
won't splurge for the $110 version. That's insane.
Yep.
Especially because I wonder if the original had a collector's edition, and if so, what was it? The same collector's edition?
I don't know if it actually had a collector's edition. Let's see, Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning collector's edition. Let's see here. Okay, so
I don't think it did.
There's the Re-Reckoning one. No, there's something. Okay, so it looks like it came with okay, so it did have a collector's edition. Oh, because of course the way I've got stuff filtered out here, I really can't get to it. It looks like it had some sort of like tarot card looking things. It looks like it had a cell drawing by Todd McFarlane. It came with the game. Giant like orc ogre type statue of some type. Another big art cell in the back though too. But yeah, it had it. Like it was a thing. Reckoning. Let's see. Is that Kingdoms of Amalur? Just making sure I'm looking at the artwork right. Yeah. It came with a Prismare troll, which is a troll holding just a giant piece of. I'm gonna switch over to the capture here on this one. I'll drop you the link, Kyle. There you go. It actually came with a giant troll statue that had a metal plate on it. That's not actually a bad looking collector's edition statue either.
It's a pretty cool collector's edition.
Yeah. Okay, so the cards are called Destiny cards, but it looks like probably like a game version of tarot or something. And then the sound, it looks like a soundtrack, and then the disc, and then D&D dice. Let's see. Oh, standard packaging, pictured bottom left. Oh, this is someone who designed it. I don't know actually if that's a legitimate thing there. No, that is correct. Okay. So yeah, it did have a collector's edition of some type here then. But okay. But it's weird that it's like, if you wanted to kind of like maybe replicate what the game had done previously, it's like maybe you would have done a re-release of that collector's edition with some newer stuff.
They could have at least included the map. That would have been nice.
Agreed. I like those maps. Like I actually want to get my I need to get my GTA 5 map out of my Xbox One case and get that framed up along with the BioShock 2 pictures as well too, because I want to get some more stuff put up in here. It's a little bear. Anyway, yeah, so keep an eye out for Kingdoms of Amalur. We'll pick it up, we'll review it, we'll let you know what we think of that one. Now, this is the story I was waiting to get to, and I think this is going to be the fun one because I'm calling victory. I'm calling victory on this one because we talked about this last week, but it's a partial victory. Okay, so I'm going to give myself, I'll say 50% of it, okay? Because the other 50% really, it truly didn't happen the way I said it did, but I kind of got us there the right way. Now, this article comes to us from The Verge. Sega's making a Game Gear Micro. Woo! Yay! Travis called it. I should have put money on it, and then Kyle could have paid me money. Yay. So, if any of you did not tune into our previous news last week, of course, is that there were all these different teases of things that Sega was going to be doing specifically, like, were they going to be releasing a new console? Were they going to be, we speculated about the Sega Channel coming back as well too. None of that happened, of course, though, really. Like, we didn't get a Dreamcast Classic or, a classic Genesis or anything like that. We got this. And I said I was kind of hoping that it was going to be a Game Gear that kind of followed suit more with, like, maybe the Nintendo Switch, where it was actually called the Game Gear. It had more of, like, the look of a Game Gear, but it docked. And, we didn't get there all the way, but we got a Game Gear Micro. So this article from The Verge goes on to say, Sega is celebrating its 60th anniversary this year with another retro console, and it looks like it might be the tiniest yet. The Game Gear Micro is a revival of Sega's 8-bit handheld system that tried and failed to overcome Nintendo's Game Boy. More news was set to drop via Japanese gaming news outlet Famitsu. The promo shots show that the system will unsurprisingly run at least one of the pretty good Game Gear Sonic the Hedgehog titles. An image initially hidden in the Game Gear Micro landing page also revealed that the system will come in 4 colors, black, blue, yellow, and red, and be released in Japan on October 6th this year for 4,980 yen, or about $50.
So this isn't a very inclusive article to everything that was covered with the release of this. So I can go ahead and elaborate because I know a little bit more about it. But each of the 4 systems are each going to have 4 games. It looks like they will. The systems are going to be powered via 2 AAA batteries. Yeah.
Hold on a minute. Like literally, it charges over US. Okay, no, it says here it charges over USB, but can also run off of 2 AAA batteries. I was really hoping they were going to say that it used batteries.
And actually, I've heard also reports.
Holy shit!
Isn't necessarily a charger, but it will work as a wall outlet for it. So think, harkening back to the early 90s when you were plugged in, huddled next to a wall outlet with the Game Gear, trying to play because the 3-hour battery life and 6 AA batteries was killing your time.
Did you see this?
It's actually going to be a 2 AAA battery and 3-hour battery life.
Okay. Well, so I dropped you a link here that actually gives more details from another Verge article. I sent you that link there, but it says you may be wondering how exactly you're meant to play games on a 1.15-inch display, which makes the Game Boy Micro's 2-inch panel sound huge by comparison. Well, if you're willing to drop $250 on a pack of all 4 consoles, Sega is including a mini version of its big window magnifying glass accessory. Like,
yeah,
look at that.
I was going to get to that.
Look at the size of it compared to that. I mean, you're literally talking about this micro, this micro handheld thing. Like I gotta imagine it's probably like about this big.
Not the height of your hand. It will literally fit in the width of your hand.
It's so this by like this. Jeez.
Your thumbs will one thumb will entirely cover the D-pad, and one thumb should entirely cover both buttons, both the face buttons, not including the start button.
I wish this thing had, like, I wish you could actually buy different things to put into it, because I think it'd be neat to actually put in one of those old school TV tuner cartridges into it.
Now, I will say some of the titles on here aren't necessarily that bad. I want to say, it's the if I can get the picture, I can maybe remember some of the titles just offhand. So the yellow one, if I'm not mistaken, or no, the red one is supposed to have 2 or 3 Megami Tensei titles. Megami Tensei Last Bible. The thing is, that and I believe it's the yellow one has Shining Force, the 3 Shining Force RPGs.
Yes.
Great RPGs, but in those 2, the text is going to be so tiny on that 1.5-inch LCD screen. You're going to have that magnifying glass, or you're going to have to sit there with an actual magnifying glass to play it.
Someone's going to hack this, and or at least like get into it and make a video out if it doesn't have a video out. Like someone is going to get in, go look at how the display hooks up to the little main board in there, and figure out how to take it and output it to something. Like I assume it's probably like an LCD or an LED like panel of some type. I'm sure that there's probably some way that someone's going to solder it in and be able to hook it up to something like a VGA cable and then plug that into like an, you know, a monitor that still has VGA in it and then be able to see everything.
The one that got me, okay, so it's got two of the Megami Tensei titles. It's the Demon Slayer and Last Bible Special. That one's got Shinobi, and then of all things, Columns on the red one.
Isn't Columns the Tetris ripoff?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
It looks like you on two different versions you get Puyo Pop games. Two different versions you get Sonic games. Gunstar Heroes on one of them. So I mean, you're not getting terrible titles. There's some good titles in there.
So I would
playing on that god awful screen. It's so tiny.
I might pick up the black one just for fun's sake, you know, because that's kind of neat. You know, you put it in your pocket and just imagine it's like, you know, your battery's starting to go bad on your phone. It's like imagine bringing this up instead. You know, you just pull this out of your pocket. You can just play a little bit of Sonic just to pass some time. You know, if you're waiting on something.
3-hour battery life off 2 AAAs. Seriously,
they really wanted you to feel the nostalgia of like how it was having it. Yeah, because wasn't it about 3 or 4 hours on 4 or 5 AA's?
3 hours. It was no, it was 6. It was 6 AA's on the original Game Gear.
Oh my God, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and it was 3 hours if you were pushing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I'm actually looking at the I've got the video going here behind me on this one, but this is to be perfectly honest with you, yeah, I could actually see myself picking up at least the black one.
It's I could see, because I'm a Sega fanboy, I could see myself picking up the 4-pack just so I could get the frickin' screen to play the Megami Tensei games. And to replay, I haven't played the third Shining Force, but I've played the first 2 Shining Force games, and I love Puyo Pop games. Gunstar Heroes is a classic for me that I absolutely love. So, you know, I could see myself picking these up, and you know, I'm a sucker. Of course I would. I'm a fanboy. But
yes, of course you are.
They're junk. I mean, it's a great idea, but once again, Sega with the horrible execution. This to me almost says they're just because it's so small, and it's like we're gonna do what we did with the Sega Mini, but we're also gonna try and mix in what we did with the AT Games version of it. So it's gonna be really cool, but it's gonna be crap because it's so small.
Well, tell you what. Okay, tell you what. If you're really feeling that bad about it, I found on eBay for $138. It is a Game Gear that comes with Sonic Chaos, Sonic the Hedgehog. I don't know what game that is. It looks like I see Lion King, and of course you know how bad Lion King is. But let me just go through the details here really quick. Yeah, it comes with Sonic, Tailspin, Lion King, and Power Back. Let's see. Console and accessories are in excellent condition. The games all work. No issues been found of the function. Most importantly, all the electrolytic capacitors on the main audio and power supply boards have been replaced. That's cool. Power bank batteries also been upgraded to lithium ion. The original defect NiCad batteries have been replaced with 4 laptop batteries, which are protected with a battery management and overcurrent protection board. This guy literally spent the money. You could buy a full on refurbished Game Gear if you want for $140. And then just go find the carts. Yeah. And the fact is that he actually restored the Power Back, which is the battery expansion system for this, with a lithium ion battery. So it's not only going to last longer, but it's better recharge.
Now, if Sega would have done something like that, I would have given them some major props. But this is...
Well, hold on here a second. Let me go ahead and make things better for you. It even comes with the plastic Game Gear carry-all case, so you can put everything together in it and buy it. Really, like I said, cool. So you can take it all together, so you can look at the cool kid walking down the street, you know, and get all pick up all the ladies as you're walking. I mean, just Because like if you really wanted, like I think my one of my favorite games, of course, and it doesn't really help, of course, I'm a fanboy on this. See behind me here are was the Power Rangers game on Game Gear, which I'm going to
Yeah.
look now because I'm genuinely curious to see. Like, okay, I could buy that Game Gear, and I could buy the Power Rangers game cart with box and plastic case for $17. Almost sounds like a too good to be true type thing here.
Yeah, Tailspin was a pretty good game, I thought.
Oh,
So,
I got one better, Kyle. I'll go spend
yeah,
68
I don't know.
bucks. I'll go spend 68 bucks on a new sealed copy of Power Rangers for the Game Gear.
Wow.
I'll
You could
I'll
hang
go
it on your wall.
Dude, that'd be funny. Can you imagine? It's
That
like
would be
it's
awesome.
like why the hell do you own this? It's like why? It's like because I really should. I had to go look because if we're talking about the Game Gear, I thought that was funny. That's not a bad price for, buying a nostalgic piece of hardware, especially with what it comes with and what the person's actually done to restore it. That's actually kind of cool to have if you're a person who collects that. So, just yeah, I think that's actually just kind of funny. Okay, let's get back here to the news though on that. And we've actually got ourselves some Sega stuff here. And Kyle, this one is a little interesting to me. This one comes from WCCF Tech and says Sega Fog Gaming Cloud Gaming Service revealed. So Kyle, talk to us about this one. What's going on?
Yeah, so this was made part of the same announcement as the Sega Game Gear, but the revolutionary tech-related announcement teased last week uh, is the announcement of the new cloud gaming service from Sega. According to the latest issue of Famitsu, as reported by Serkan Toto, the new service, currently known as Fog Gaming, will make use of arcade cabinet CPU and GPU to reduce costs and offer ultra low latency commercially. This would be great for the game centers in Japan as it would allow them to earn money outside business hours.
That's cool.
So, yeah, basically, I think what they're kind of going for here, before I continue on with the article,
Yeah.
and the reason it's called fog gaming is because it's localized cloud gaming. So it'll be localized to your arcade, so the closest one to you. But essentially, you'd be able to go in through your PC or
Okay.
through like a game console
Mm-hmm.
and play arcade games and potentially even play versus people on the arcade cabinet. I'm thinking, um, yeah, just without having to access or visit the local arcade.
Yeah, that's kind of neat that they would actually do that. Is the fact that I guess it depends on what's inside the cabinets themselves. Like most arcades are usually like the arcade cabinets nowadays are usually like Windows PCs that are running. There's a specific version of Windows, not necessarily for arcades, but there's a specific kind of like skinned down version of Windows that the games run on. I remember going to like Timeout and seeing they'd go and reboot like one of the motorcycle games or something, and there's a Windows like CE splash screen, before it
Right,
actually
and
starts loading it.
yeah, and they were powered off the exact same format of Windows CE that powered like the Sega Dreamcast, essentially.
Yeah, but okay, so fog gaming. I was getting kind of a kick out of that one. I know you couldn't see it. The fuck, bug, get out of here! Got a bug floating around my fucking microphone. I guess he has a word to say. Fog game. I was getting just kind of a laugh at that one. I was like having a kick with that. I guess that works. I mean, if that's exactly what they're going to be doing, is that if they're going to be using it for the like it's going to be specifically available only to Japan, and it's going to use
Yeah,
that nearby. That is actually kind of neat, and I think that's actually a really neat way for the arcades to continue to drive revenue when they're closed. It's like, okay, you can't play here legally because of course we got to shut down at this time, but now we can offer you the same service and you don't need to leave your house. So I think those people who are really like going to the arcades in Japan will probably, you're going to see them doing both.
right. And the article does close out by saying that no other information is currently available on Sega's Fog Gaming. So it is not yet clear if it will allow players to enjoy just arcade games outside of game centers, or it will feature a much bigger library, considering how arcade gaming is not as popular in the West as it is in Japan. We may not even see fog gaming in North America and Europe.
I think what we're going to end
So
up probably seeing more than anything is we're probably going to end up seeing a lot of VPNs to Japan to actually
I
play some
think
of
so
this.
too.
Hmm.
Because there are people in the United States that do enjoy arcades, and it is a dying thing in the United States. It's
It
almost
is.
completely dead. Let's face it; it's been for years,
Yeah.
and even surviving arcades are dying out slowly but surely. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of miss the arcade culture. Going in and being able to put your quarters next to the guy on Street Fighter or Tekken or whatever, Soul Calibur. Mine was always Soul Calibur, and go head to head and see who could continue playing on after you got through that guy.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're absolutely right that I don't think they're going to expand it over to here because of the dying industry. I do see a lot of VPNs though for people who really like those kind of obscure Japanese arcade games to try to go and play that, but I wonder if that might end up getting shut down because I wonder, other than kind of like leasing out the CPU and GPU of the arcade machines to do it, I wonder if they're still going to be doing more like one or two people to an arcade cabinet at a time. More trying to
Yeah.
keep it so that way it's not like stressing out the arcade cabinet, by adding in more people than are actually supposed to play it at once. So
Yeah,
that's
and I wonder
cool.
if it may cause the industry to, or at least the arcade industry over there, to start changing the processors in the system to be able to run multiple instances of the game, so you can have people playing the same game while
Hmm.
at home, and potentially be playing people that are actually in the arcade, or in order for the arcade to continuously host people at the same cabinet and not tax the cabinet too
As
much, have 24 different instances available.
No, exactly. And I could see them doing something like that too. Like even for those games that have you sign in, like let's say the ones that have you have your little like identification card that the game will print out for you, like the racing games. That way, you can actually still like as you play, you can still record to your little like player ID card or something to make it work. Or at least to
Well, and
carry over your
even if they
points in
did
that
it
too.
even if they did it the way Street Fighter does it, where you have to go into a room and there's like 10 people basically waiting in queue to be the next fighter to fight the person that's holding the champion spot.
Hmm. No, exactly. That's a big part of it too. I agree. So we had a comment here from Alex. I think this was probably back when we were talking about the Sega Game Gear stuff. He says, if this works out, I'd like to see Sega do something with the Dreamcast library. Maybe not a classic edition type physical release, but a package for Steam or something might be doable. So maybe a digital release of some well-known Dreamcast titles or something. I could see some partnership like that. I guess it just depends like who Sega's biggest like distribution partner really is right now. Is it just themselves? Is it better off that they do something in partnership with like Valve for Steam or with Epic and the new game store stuff that they've been working with EA and Origin? I mean, there's a number of them too. So yeah,
I
that'd
could
be cool to
already
see.
see it now. It would have Sonic Adventure, Space Channel 5, Crazy Taxi, and Altered Beast.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Because what's a Sega collection without Altered Beast?
I don't know. I don't know. I'd play it. I'm all over it. Okay, so let's move on here because Sega has already warned me out. Even if the Infinity Ward thing earlier didn't, Sega's warned me out. So whatever the hell's going on with them, geez, man, they're releasing stuff like crazy. Who knows? Maybe next week we'll actually get it's like, just kidding. We're going to release a full size Game Gear. All right, so let's move on to
Yeah,
our next
right.
story here. This one comes to us from Gadgets 360 via NDTV. EA and Valve partnered to bring games and EA access to Steam. So, FIFA's come. Oh, go
About
ahead.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I was about to say on that one. Was it's about time.
Yeah, so FIFA's coming to Steam. On Tuesday, EA and Valve announced that the former's games and services, the likes of FIFA 20 and EA Access called Origin Access on PC, will be available on Steam next year. But you won't have to wait long to enjoy the fruits of the new partnership, as it's going to affect November 15th with the release of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. The game is now available for pre-order on Steam if you're willing to trust EA with that sort of thing. Following the new Star Wars title will be The Sims 4 and Unravel 2 in the coming months. FIFA 20, Apex Legends, and Battlefield 5 will arrive on Steam sometime next year, while EA Access drops in spring of 2020. In spring 2020. Okay, what is the date on this one? October 30th, 2019, dude. This is old. Where'd you find this story? Dude, this is old.
I don't know. I think it's because of
Holy shit.
The sale that's going on right now, and the fact that they are actually bringing the EA access over right now. And I don't know. It popped up on my news feed, and I just kind of was shuffling articles in at that point.
It's all good, man. I'm gonna take a look here. Yeah, actually, no, you're absolutely right. So here I've got the let me switch back over to the Chrome
have
Capture.
Steam up, and they are running some major sales right now. But it does look like that. Yeah, they are getting ready to kick off the EA access.
Yeah, it says here. Yeah, so I'm on their splash screen for it because I went to it. It says play the best of EA starting now. So they've got Command and Conquer remastered as a new release. They've got Dragon Age Inquisition, Plants vs Zombies, Dragon Age 2, Crysis 3, Need for Speed Deluxe, Need for Speed Heat, Need for Speed Rivals, Burnout Paradise, Unravel, Unravel 2, Mirror's Edge Catalyst, Sea of Solitude, Fae. Crysis and Crysis 2 have actually been available on Steam for a while because I've had them. But I mean, that's a pretty Jade Empire, Medal of Honor, Airborne. Okay, so yes, I think it is relevant, of course, to bring up. So okay, the article was old, but what it relates to is actually still very recent, and the fact that there's a lot that you can actually get here through Steam that is EA based. And I'm wondering if you buy this, let's say you go through Steam to get your stuff, and let's just say the one day that EA decides to completely like rip this out of your hands for whatever reason, can you get those games back through Origin, through the Origin portal? That's a question we don't have answered. Yeah, because it's like, of course, there's the risk of like you're not actually buying a game, you're buying a license to play a game. So if the game gets removed, or let's say Valve is just like, oh, what, we're not making money on Steam anymore, we're going to completely get rid of it, all your games are gone, besides the massive lawsuit that they'd probably have on their hands anyway with that. I'm just saying is that, if they decide to pull support, do we lose all of the games that we might get through EA on Steam if EA decides to pull the plug? But there's no answer to that. There's nothing that says otherwise. So here we are. But okay.
Well, my bad for finding an old article, but I guess sorry about that. But I guess it does kind of bring up some relevance. So.
You punk ass. Well, then I'm going to go ahead and let you talk about this next one here, so I can recover from the betrayal, the sudden but inevitable betrayal. But this one comes to us from NME. And it says, Horror Classic PT has been remade in Half-Life Alyx. A mod has been created to bring back the classic horror experience. That's funny that they call it a classic because this thing only came out like so long ago. But all right, Kyle, let's talk about some more PT.
Yeah, Hideo Kojima's classic horror demo PT has been given a new tease on life in Half-Life Alyx through a mod by Steam user Ambient Druth. PT was originally a demo for Silent Hills before the project was ultimately canceled and the demo was pulled from the PlayStation Store. Fans rallied together in an attempt to have the game's development restart and even started a petition. You can view the trailer for the canceled Silent Hills below. So everyone's seen that trailer at this point, I would hope.
Mm-hmm. Sure,
the mod aims to bring back the demo via Half-Life Alyx, the latest installment in the Half-Life franchise that was specifically designed to be played in virtual reality. This provides fans with an opportunity to experience PT like never before with the additional of virtual experience. Since its removal from the PlayStation Store, the demo can't be re-downloaded, meaning the only players who have kept the download since its release have access to the original version. As of now, the project is still a work in progress, but already has incorporated the looping corridor effect that made the original so popular. The sound design has also been crafted to resemble the original creation, with radio static echoing through the halls and haunting sounds of the antagonist Lisa. Um,
I'm not going to bring up
see.
the video on here. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I don't do well with horror games. I don't.
Then
Resident Evil stuff is good. Silent Hill I can do fine with, but because of the advent, or at least a lot more of the emphasis on the jump scare levels of horror games, like specifically talking about Outlast, Amnesia. I know Five Nights at Freddy's really shouldn't be a horror game, but of course, when it came out, that's what it was. I can't do that. So if you want to watch this video, I'm leaving that to the audience. You can bring it up. I'm good. Thanks
it does say
for me.
creator Ambient Druth has published the mod on Steam and it's available for download now. It's been stated as a work in progress, but promises updates are coming to incorporate new elements such as cleaner textures, among other details. The creator is also encouraging fans to donate in the hope to help speed up the project completion. So kind of neat. I know that's one that I keep trying to bring up in stuff that we have in our discussions. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I don't know. It's a game forever lost in history until, well, hopefully Konami can one day pull their heads out of their ass. I don't know.
You're asking for a lot. You are
You
asking
know.
100% for a lot there. So it's okay. It's not going to happen. We
Yeah,
just
you never know. Next thing we'll be seeing besides the
what the fuck?
what is it? Pyramid Head in what was the
Dead
what
by
was the name
Daylight.
of it? Dead by Daylight.
How
We're
could you
gonna
forget
be
something like
seeing.
that when that game has like
Yeah,
been a staple of our
sorry,
podcast?
I brain farted the name. No, we're gonna have more Pyramid
Oh
Head
shit.
pachinko.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, that's where games eventually go to die.
Yeah, so apologies here, folks. My son came over and told me just in the doorway here, and then of course now I'm hearing it too, is that someone's shooting off fireworks kind of outside or near my house, and this has been going on a little while there. So apologies. I'm kind of just like, I don't know, just by habit looking through a window that I actually have blocked up right now. So okay. Anyway, let's move on to the next story, Kyle. This is actually our second to last one here. And this one, of
Yeah.
course, let's kind of turn back around, of course, to Sony and that as well, though, too, because this is an interesting one. From VG247, Epic Games had to rewrite parts of its Unreal Engine to keep up with the PlayStation 5 SSD. The SSD inside every PlayStation 5 is going to be transformative for game development, and the maker of Unreal Engine had seen it firsthand. It is no secret that Unreal Engine creator Epic Games has fallen in love with the PlayStation 5. The developer chose to debut its next-gen Unreal Engine 5 with a demo running on PlayStation 5 in real time. Not only does the console's advanced CPU and GPU architecture enable big leaps in performance, Epic was particularly motivated by Sony's proprietary SSD technology. VG247 spoke to Epic Games and other developers about how they believe Unreal Engine 5 will shape the future of game development on next-gen hardware. The PlayStation 5 provides a huge leap in both computing and graphics performance, but its storage architecture is also truly special, Nick Penwarden, VP of Engineering at Epic Games, told VG247. So they go on to say, the ability to stream in content at extreme speeds enables developers to create denser and more detailed environments, changing how we think about streaming content. It's so impactful that we've rewritten our core I/O subsystem for Unreal Engine with the PlayStation 5 in mind. While it's true that both Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 have NVMe SSDs, Sony took things further by boosting the transfer speed well beyond what's possible on even the most expensive consumer-grade products available today, and certainly faster than Xbox Series X. It looks like update here from Epic Games founder Tim Sweeney says the work done for PS5 will benefit all platforms. Says here, yeah, there's been a massive effort to upgrade Unreal Engine loading and streaming to ensure CPU doesn't become the bottleneck. PlayStation 5 has provided much of the impetus, but the work will benefit all platforms. Good on you, Sony. At least the fact that Epic was able to, step up and actually confirm the fact that their solid state technology, their solid state and communication architecture underneath everything ended up being the success, that it was. Or it will be, excuse me, because we don't even have it out yet. So that's cool.
Yeah.
That does make me wonder, like, especially for more of like these open games, like I'm actually very curious to find out what it's going to look like on in actual practice there. Like, what are some of these games that are going to be using Unreal going to look like? Or even any game in general, I guess, because if the architecture is that good and Epic Games has gone out and says like, yeah, this is so good, we had to go back and actually rewrite our core IO infrastructure, our actual digital infrastructure here to make this that much better because it was
Could
that
you
much better.
imagine them first approaching that and going like, "Oh, we got
Hmm.
this, guys, we got this," and then showing up and going, "What the hell?"
Yeah, exactly. That is a big thing. Um, you know, that's definitely a big part of it for sure. But I'm glad that at least that Tim Sweeney came out and said it's like, while the PlayStation 5 has really shown things off, they're at least being able to make strides to further enhance for the other systems as well, which means that Unreal Engine 5 should still look pretty freaking awesome on PC and then should also look just as awesome on Xbox Series X. But we have yet to see anything using Unreal Engine 5 on Series X. And I hope we actually see something soon.
Wouldn't it be cool to see though an advent like that come from a console and then be
Yes.
transferred to a PC?
Absolutely. I mean, that would be such a crazy thing. Not necessarily because we're used to the games and of course ports and the chaos that goes with ports from
Right,
console to PC. It's not usually the other way around where there's much of an issue. It's usually console to PC is the problem. But for
right,
an
and
actual,
usually, I mean, I would be the guy to dog on these high speed proprietary ports, but
hmm
this is really cool. This is gonna be a huge leap, I think.
what I'm
I
curious
think
though
what
to
they say.
what I'm curious to find out is that the GPU and CPU are both AMD products. AMD offers a storage caching solution very similar to Intel Optane. Now I'm kind of going a little technical, a little further along in the technical stuff here, but Intel Optane is smaller storage caching, so like you'd buy like an SSD that might be like 16 or 32 gigabytes in size, but the caching allows even for spin disks to move at a much faster rate, not necessarily like you're not going to be getting like a 7200 RPM spinny disk up to 10,000 RPM. It's not going to be moving that. It's more that it's caching the very pertinent data to load up the stuff off that disk much faster. So I have to assume that Sony went to AMD and said, it's like, yeah, I know we know you guys are doing this stuff here with Microsoft too. And kind of right now, we know things are kind of 1-to-1, at least a bit, but we have an idea for something. And we know you guys offer this. Can we talk about this? So I'm wondering if under the hood they're using whatever, like AMD has it. I just can't remember the name, but I wonder if they're using that same level of like caching tech or actual like kernel level IO tech to actually make that work better for Sony. And that's where maybe Microsoft fell behind a little bit. Like, Sony's like, there's a little bit of
That is a
cash.
thought, yeah.
I mean, because it's like, if it is that revolutionary, nothing against Sony. They've been in the game for a very long time. But I just have to wonder if that could be part of it. If they could be using some sort of that caching tech. And once we get to the point that PlayStation 5 and Series X are out and a company like iFixit actually does a teardown of those consoles and of course investigates the chipsets in that, we're going to see it. They'll be able to at least confirm, yeah, this chip here is the exact same one you see on this caching drive that AMD sells,
Right.
or this technology that they offer. So but we have to wait and see. It's just a thought. It's just an idea based on the technology that we see in PCs now. But it would be cool though, is that if they adopt that, then maybe that'd be more of a thing for PC builders, both like your regular box companies like Dell and HP and that, and then of course your third party builders like CyberPower, iBuyPower, Digital Storm, that, or even then your general PC builders like myself, to go and actually use that tech to make things that much better. Then cool. Maybe they could set the standard not only on the fact that it's like the engine's that much better because of how much better the PlayStation 5 is at handling this, but also brings out the actual physical changes though too. So
Right, right. And I think we are going to see more changes in architecture to take advantage of
I think
these
so.
Yeah.
Well, I think so because like the Optane drives right now, they sell them. Intel's are little M.2 solid state drives, so like the little stick drives that slot in,
Right. Right.
and then they also have PCI Express cards too that you actually just slot in that also do the same thing. But again, that's kind of how solid state drives started, is that they slotted in that way. But not trying to go too deep into the technology stuff here because I don't want to put anybody to sleep yet. But that's probably what the tech is, and I can't wait to actually see the official announcement or even the teardown of a PlayStation 5 to confirm such. If I was right on Game Gear, I'm going to be right on this, damn it. Okay. But let's finish up the evening news here with our last story. And this one again comes to us from NME. 343 Industries job listing hints to a new Halo project. The position hints to a new project in the Halo universe. The listing was spotted by Twitter user Klobriel and is for a senior producer role at 343 Industries to help develop a new project in the Halo franchise. The project is described as a chance to work on one of the most exciting and creative intellectual properties in the industry with one of the industry's most talented teams. No other projects have been revealed, except the listing stated the position as a chance to develop a new project in the Halo universe, indicating an entirely different project to their upcoming Halo Infinite, which we're, of course, not there yet anyway. Microsoft's next generation console, the Xbox Series X, is expected to arrive later this year, with the company set to deliver Halo Infinite as a launch title for the system. The game was initially announced at E3 back in 2018 during the company's presentation. It was then shown again a year later during its 2019 presentation with an entirely new trailer. Well, more Halo to talk to Preston about. He's going to be all kinds of excited to hear it.
I kind of would like to see the job listing to see what kind of to see. I don't know if we could get an idea of what type of game maybe we would be looking at if we were going to be looking at, I don't know, another Halo Wars or God forbid another Halo tablet game.
Yeah, so
Because I think I'm the only one that likes those.
let me go ahead and grab the link here and I'll drop it to you in Discord there. So, okay, so I got it here. So it says 343 Industries is looking for a senior producer to work with our core services team to help develop a new project in the Halo universe. It's basically the same thing the article went on to. As a senior producer, you are core to the culture and productivity of the team. The ideal candidate will be able to balance schedule needs, create pursuits, push quality of innovation, manage both budget time. Okay, so responsibilities. Senior producer 343 is your work directly with the lead producer, core service leads, and project leads to establish and maintain vision, scope. Okay. Partner with multidisciplinary teams, day-to-day development, multiple teams in sprint and milestone planning. Okay. Partner with other teams inside and outside 343. Identify issues that could disrupt deliverables, engineering leads. Okay, so it's a basic one here. Okay, so qualifications to actually get this job. Experience shipping games. You have 5+ relevant years experience in games development doing senior level work and 8+ years in the games industry. You have one AAA title in a production or related role and or managed multiple features and teams through 2+ product life cycles. Experiencing creating team processes. You should have advanced experience developing and running project management, effective team leadership. Okay, so there's nothing in here in the job description that specifically says this is kind of like what it's going to lead to. However, being a senior producer,
Order to fill though.
yeah,
with
so
those requirements.
yeah, so it means you have 1+ AAA title in a production or related role. So that means that you've either been a producer on a game that has released as a AAA title, or you've managed multiple features and teams through 2+ product life cycles, which means that you've been there for. I've got to kind of look at like what the definition is for a product life cycle, but that definitely is not. I'm not going to call that a tall order like you are. What I'm going to call it more so than anything is that it's like obviously they want the best of the best, and for a senior producer position, which probably makes quite a bit of money, they're going to want somebody who knows what they're doing, especially when it's Halo in their hands. You don't want anybody else getting into this that has no idea what they're doing, or will potentially, not be able to handle something of the magnitude of Halo, because
Right.
otherwise, imagine you're a fresh-faced video game developer off the street and you've just been hired by Microsoft. Imagine that you've been hired by Microsoft. It's like, okay, cool, I'm going to go work on Xbox games. And immediately you're like, boom, you are now in charge of making Halo. I mean, imagine the level of pressure on that for someone just like, fresh face coming into the game industry. You know, it's like you could be a contributor here or there, but imagine just like being told you are now in charge of this. Don't fuck it up.
Yeah, yeah.
hmm So that's why it's like there has to be that level of experience. And
Oh, I get that. I
mhm.
do get that. But man, I really wonder what kind of project they're undertaking. With it being a Halo project, though, I could see them doing. I would see either another side type story, or maybe another Halo Wars. Especially
Hmm.
being this close to us not even, we haven't really gotten the announcement of, this is Halo gameplay, and that's what everyone's waiting for at this point. Everyone's coming out and saying, we're going to see Halo gameplay. That's probably what Microsoft's waiting for, is the Halo gameplay, for gameplay to be shown off.
I think so. Like, I actually truly do think that where we're at on things right now is the fact that, um, we haven't seen much more of Halo Infinite other than that initial trailer. I've got the other trailer playing in the background here right now. That kind of showed off some more of like the higher quality of graphics and that. But we haven't seen much about this yet. We haven't actually seen this come out. It makes sense that they would start to work on like the next thing, but I think it's too early to say what it's going to be. We can speculate here like we normally do on what it could be, or at least what we'd like to see. Like, what would you actually like to see? Like, at least
Me
it's another Halo
personally,
game. Yeah,
honestly, I would like to see another ODST style game.
same. 100%
Because
agree.
that was my favorite Halo, and I know I get a lot of flack from saying that, but I don't know. I liked playing as the little guy. I liked being able to go up to a brute and go, "Oh shit, he is really big," you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that would actually be really cool. Um, what I'm thinking is that I wouldn't mind actually seeing another ODST. I just don't know when the events would actually be set for it. But I don't think we're getting another Halo Wars. I think it's too soon for another Halo Wars game.
Yeah.
Uh, Maybe with the success of Gears Tactics, maybe we'll actually see more of a Halo, um, like a Halo XCOM style RTS type game.
Well, and maybe I'm being presumptuous, but I don't see it being another Halo tablet game. What was it, like Halo Spartan Assault, or the sequel that they
Yeah,
did?
that was the one they really
With
toted for the Microsoft
and
Surface.
I think that's more so why I said that's a tall order, because I
hmm
don't think they would have that type of requirement out of a team lead if it were just a straight up tablet game, because I mean there's really not a lot of direction there,
hmm
and they're short. Let's be real. A lot of games, even really nice ones that are written for mobile, for tablets, um, their teams consist of 1 to 5 people.
hmm
So
Yeah, and
I
that's
I I think this is going to be an actual real project. Maybe it's something we won't see till, who knows, 2024.
yeah.
But I think that being said, I would really hope it would be something like a new
You
ODST.
know what I'll keep my fingers. You know what I'll keep my fingers crossed for is that even though it is a like it's a Microsoft property and that instead I think what would be cool is to actually see a Halo game with an initial release on PC.
That would be kind of neat.
I
That
th-
would be neat.
I think it would alienate like your Xbox gamers, but imagine like a dedicated PC Halo game, where they weren't constrained by what the Series X could do, and they're able to actually have they're actually able to set something up where you're playing Halo for the first time on a PC and it never had a console release. I think that would be kind of cool, especially because like you put it in the hands and you see how ubiquitous PC gaming has gotten over the years, and the fact that you can now download Microsoft games or like Xbox games,
even
excuse me.
even just to have a Halo game to stretch the limits of what a computer can do, rather than to stretch the limits of what an Xbox can do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be the cool thing to see. That'd be the real cool thing to see.
Yeah, exactly. Or it'd be
Because
funny enough that
it's always been the big Xbox game that's supposed to show off the graphics. It's supposed to showcase everything that the Xbox can do. What if it could be the game that could show off what a PC could really do? That would be neat.
Yeah, until they tell you that the only way you're going to be able to run the game is you need an RTX 2080 Ti, you need a Ryzen 9 3990X, you need 32 gigabytes of RAM, and you also need to submerge your entire PC in water to be able to cool the entire thing off because it can't handle the rest of it.
Yeah.
Just an assumption, just nothing big or anything there. But anyway, so that was that last story for us there tonight. Kyle, I don't think there's really much else to bring up in the news. We've already kind of talked about it to death. Everybody's fully aware of what's going on right now in the world.
Yeah, only other thing I was really going to mention is, of course, they do have the rumor of Blue Point Games working on both Demon Souls and Bloodborne for PS5. But there again, speculative rumor, but
yeah,
let's be real. It's probably gonna happen, guys. That, and supposedly we may be hearing shortly, within next week, about a possible Bloodborne PC release. So stay tuned on that one.
Yeah, let's take a look and see what happens there. And of course, for you to be able to tune into that one and find that out, don't forget to come here to our weekly news roundup, where we will be able to go ahead and talk to you about all this and more. So with that, Kyle, thank you again for joining me. As always, dude, I know you can't be here physically, but being able to talk to you at least through Discord, it's awesome, man. Appreciate you being here.
Always.
And of course, for all of you that tuned in to our news stream, of course, thank you so much again. For those of you who checked it out on Facebook or on our YouTube channel, thank you. Please make sure that if you're on our Facebook page checking this out, that you're hitting that like button. Of course, you're following us there. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell for when we do get videos put up and available, or when this broadcast, of course, goes live. One big thing I'm going to mention right now, too, for everybody that's tuning in, and a lot of people may not be immediately aware of this, but June 8th is actually the 1-year anniversary of this podcast. That is Monday. So we immediately, there's nothing planned, of course, hitting kind of the 1-year point on anything right now. We'll kind of talk about that off to the side here later on. But June 8th, 2019 is when we first recorded the podcast with Preston, Brandon, Dave, and myself here in my house, and we uploaded that to SoundCloud and determined, first and foremost, that SoundCloud was only allowing you on a non-paid to upload one thing, and then as soon as you uploaded that, then you were kind of effed. So you either delete that and then put a new thing up, and I'm like, no, we need to keep everything up and running. That is why we are on the platform we are today, on Anchor.fm, because not only do they hold on to every single episode we've created, but you're also talking about the fact that they have distribution tools that, otherwise we would have to go and manage and curate ourselves, and it definitely saves a lot of trouble for us. So if you're looking to start your own podcast as well, we would recommend Anchor.fm because they've been great to us. Their support system's also been great to us too, because we've had a couple issues that we've come across. Tickets were responded to quick. Information was submitted really easy as well too. So great platform to work with. Now, again, we are hitting our 1-year anniversary this Monday. Keep an eye out to see if we are doing anything. Not immediately sure yet. We'll talk about it. But with all that said, thank you so much for tuning in to us. Again, subscribe, like, follow, check out the podcast. Make sure you're following us there on your favorite podcasting platform. Kyle, again, thanks for joining me, man. We're going to catch all of you guys in the next broadcast. Good night.
Later.